there.
Good. Hey, Alicia, how are you?
Well, you act surprised. We were trying to give you a night off, dude. And here
Oh,
you
all right.
are.
Yeah, of course. I want to be here with you guys. Cheers, Alicia. Here's to
Oh,
you.
I'll have to go grab one. Hi, everyone.
Ah, yeah, I shaved, so I might as well stick around, you know? Um, Quite the day. I really thought we were going to close. Who here thought we were going to close above an all-time high for the S&P? We did for the NASDAQ again. Who here thought, hey, we're booming. Maybe we're going to get a close above an all-time high in the S&P. I know I did. I thought we were going to land, we're higher than there now, but we kept bumping. There's a direct relationship between the S&P and the S&P 500 futures. And right at the new all-time high happens to align with 6,200 in the futures. And that ended up being kind of our wall. Right now,
I called it this morning.
So it's good to see everybody. Where's everybody coming in from? Nice to see you, Sherry. I see Mark Sebastian Fan 007, my favorite of all of our members. I'm a big fan. I don't know about that avatar, but it's good to see everybody. It's been a week. We've gone from bombing to ceasefire to new all-time highs. Pretty crazy. And then Cap is saying must be all those darn tariffs holding the market back. Yeah, I mean, they currently are not seeming to have a lot of an effect on things, which I think is kind of interesting. Now, Leisha, you were on the floor for what? 20 years, 21 years total, right? Isn't that right?
From entry level to the day I left,
Yeah.
86 to 03.
17 full years. That's a rebellious teenager of a career on the trading floor. And I was thinking about why we're here today, and it reminded me that when we were on the floor, there were these like events that we knew were going to happen, and we looked forward to them. Almost every quarter, every 6 months, and we're kind of running up against one of those right now. I mean, did you have those moments where you're like, oh, good, either there was a customer that came back every 90 days and it was a great trade that they would want to do with you, or it was an event that happened, maybe post earnings, things like that. I definitely had those. Did you recall having stuff like that?
Oh, yes. I was going to talk about those summer doldrum days when we're all just kind of hanging out and Ogre walks in. Ogre was our big, well, he was a big guy. We called him, he was OGR, but he worked for Goldman Sachs, and he would come in and say, where are these calls? And well, back then they'd be like quarter half, but now they're like, 108, 112 or something.
Right.
And okay, I have 2,000 to go at 108. So we all buy our 100 lots, and okay, where are they now? Well, we're like, 104 bid here. He's got another 2,000.
Yep.
Okay, now we're 95 bid. Where are you now? And this is what implied volatility is. The one factor that is not known. We know all the other factors in pricing an option. It's the implied vol that the liquidity are in control of. They know the supply and demand. They control it, move it up or down. And as retailers, we need to be aware of where those option prices, where have they been? How high have they been? How low have they been? As an option buyer, you don't want to be buying it when it's high. So
absolutely. And folks, I've been telling you guys that, think about implied volatility as just the price of an option, how expensive an option is. Every other part of an option's price is basically determined. The volatility is really what determines whether that option is cheap or expensive. So when you're looking at an index like the VIX, and the VIX closed 1659 today, it is the lowest close since the last time the VIX was this cheap. Let me see. You got to go back to February, before the April mess, before everything blew up in April. That is the last time option prices were this low. And it's not random. What is happening right now is not random. Why are option prices getting smoked? Well, one, I guess there's a little randomness there, right? There's no more news to really. Right now, it appears like the whole news cycle is over. But two, again, there's a reason we're here right now, and the VIX is hitting its low since February. And that is what Andrew and Hannah are going to be hitting on today. They're going to be talking about the fact that what is opening up is, I believe, just an incredible opportunity. It's one of those calendar appointment days that we pay very close attention to, and that's next week. So your opportunity to hear kind of what Andrew has cooking with Hannah's guidance is just an incredible learning opportunity. And once you figure out what they're about, you're going to want to get on board. I'll tell you, I am. I've been sitting here plotting. I'm like, my preference is we would have done this, multiple times so I can get in on this trade, but we never front run our clients. We don't jump into trades and then talk about them. It's part of our CRT process, is how we fulfill your trades. So here at Option Pit, and this is an industry standard that is applied, that we set. All right. People look at what Option Pit is doing in terms of how we come up with new ideas, new product, how we keep product. And they go, how are these guys developing such amazing tools to help people? And the answer is CRT. CRT stands for consistently profitable, repeatable, and teachable. And you're going to be experiencing CRT tonight as Hannah forces Andrew to explain how this is consistently profitable, how it's repeatable, and how he's going to teach you. So this entire discussion that you're going to be hearing tonight is based in that CRT approach, that consistently profitable, repeatable, and teachable. Hannah, as our director of new product development, really is your advocate, right? At least she'll tell you, when we're building product, part of that process, and it is grueling, is you have to be able to teach Hannah what you're trying to do, what the strategy is about, so they can understand it. Alicia, you've definitely worked with Hannah on like small account challenge, option shopper, and gone through this process. When you're a trader, you're just like, oh, you just buy the calls when this happens, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't cut it. Right?
Right. That's correct.
So what she does is draws out of us the T, really, right? We can do the C part, consistently profitable. Listen, if I hand Leisha $250,000 and say, I'll see you next year, I want this to be more, I feel pretty good about that. Right? If I hand that to Andrew, I feel pretty good about that. Hans, myself. Super easy. All right. Repeatable. Again, we can figure that on our own. Oh, we've got a trade that we can do. But that teachable aspect is part that, when you're coming to the floor, when you're coming from the floor and working with retail traders, that's the part that we work on, that Hannah is basically holding us over the coals for, to make sure that T, C important, the T most important for a product, the R When it doesn't have the R, that's when it goes to a special situation. But that is what I love about working with Hannah, working with our team, is creating, putting in that CRT apparatus and forcing all product through it. And so you're going to be experiencing the T tonight, and then hopefully you're going to jump on board with the P and the R, or with the C and the R, excuse me. Alicia, what since you're here, you had mentioned you had a couple of things you wanted to hit on. Is there anything specific that you wanted to kind of hit on beside, hearing Ogre talk about flows? It's so important. What were there other pieces that you want to hit on?
Oh, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, I think, volatility. I think people think volatility is a mystery, and it really isn't. Um, Definitely liquidity providers are in control of it versus us retail traders. But you need to be aware. If you're an options trader, you need to be aware of where that implied volatility is, where it's going. You want to know how to trade it. And should you be buying it or should you be selling it? Andrew is there at the birth of the VIX. He's the best man in anywhere around.
I mean, he literally taught the guy that listed VIX options how to trade, folks. And that guy is a smart. He's smarter than any of us here, but that doesn't make him as good of a trader. What made him a great trader was the work that he did with Andrew. What makes me, I think, a really good trader is the work that I did learning from Andrew's program. What makes Alicia a great trader is she didn't have a choice, right?
Oh no, I did not have a choice.
No, you did not have a choice. If you were media, they were never going to give, back in the 90s, and this is bad. I know things have gotten better, but like if you were a female, your options were be a clerk or be better than everybody. And Alicia,
there were a lot of husband punchers.
Husband hunters.
There were a lot of those.
There were some of those. But Alicia obviously went for the I'm going to be better than everybody and proved it.
They hated it. That was awesome.
And it's been fun. Grant, her son, is at Texas Christian, and he is studying financial engineering, computer information systems.
Yeah.
And we've got him working with us, and it's been fun. It's fun. Sending that kid through the ringer.
It is fun. It was great to see him on the morning meeting.
He's got a dad that was a professional option trader, a mom that is a professional option trader. It's kind of like a basketball. It's kind of like that Harper kid that just got drafted, second overall. His dad was Ron Harper that played for the Bulls, and then his mom played in D1 college. Shocker, he's the second overall pick.
That's
right?
Fantastic. It's in his genes.
It is in his genes. And what's going to be in your genes, folks at home, is learning from Andrew and Hannah tonight, understanding why the timing right now is so important. It's a combination of how big money moves its paper, moves its option trades. It's a combination of the timing and what has just occurred. Once you have the opportunity to sit down and listen, I think you guys are going to learn a lot. All right, we've got a lot of people here. I definitely see Montana Mike. I'm assuming he's coming in from Boise, Idaho. Where else is everybody coming in from? We've got William coming in. Oh my gosh. We got William coming in. We've got Shane. Let's see. I saw Shelly coming in from Kelly coming in from South Dakota. That's a good one. Where else is everybody coming in from? I'm in Texas. I'm hoping this stops it from repeating over and over again.
Hollywood Riviera.
Let's see. Tina's in from Detroit. My wife's a Detroit native. She grew up in Royal Oak and Rochester Hills. Robin is coming in from Robin Hood land, like that. Hanshi's in from Denver. And let's see. Oh, we got South Bay Jay from South Torrance. That's where Andrew's from Torrance originally. You silly wabbits in Silicon Valley. Malaga, Spain. Nice job,
wow.
Mark.
We were there on our honeymoon.
Connecticut. William's in from St. Louis. I love having me some Spaniards. We actually have clients on every single continent. We had one client that actually did scientific research in Antarctica, so I actually chalk him up as our Antarctican. But we've got clients, traders all over the world, in Asia, in Oceania, in Africa, Europe, obviously North and South America, and of course, with Bill, we're gonna say he lives in Antarctica. All right. Well, it's now 6 after.
Real
again,
quick,
yes.
everyone needs to stick around. I have a phenomenal trade idea at the end of the show.
Oh, bonus. Leisha's going to share a trade idea. So stick around for that. What I would invite you to do now is turn off Facebook, turn off Twitter or whatever, or X or whatever it's called. Put your phone down, get a Google Doc open, or get your pen and paper. Because when Andrew speaks, you are going to want to take notes. And Hannah is so good at, making that what Andrew's saying understandable. So with that, what I'd like to do is call in our own Hannah J. Selner, Director of Product Development.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Leisha.
Hi, Hannah.
How you guys doing?
Great.
Very well.
Good to see both of you.
Great to see you.
Thank you for warming up the crowd. Andrew and I always appreciate it.
Yeah. Dude, you're popping today, Hannah.
Oh, thanks so much, Mark. I do
You
my
are.
best. Andrew
Yes.
usually really brings it, so I got to show up equally as excited.
Well, then after this, you have to go build a boat.
That's right. That's
with
right.
your woodworking tools.
My woodworking skills currently leave a little to be desired, but under Andrew's tutelage, hopefully I can produce something worthwhile.
All right.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. And Leisha is so right. She gave us a great play at the end of the show that we're going to give to you guys. There's a stock play and an option play on a name that she really likes, and she has a pitchfork and the whole 9 yards. We're going to give it away to you. So thank you, Leisha, and make sure that you guys stick around for that.
My pleasure.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Get those pens and papers, turn off everything except for this, and start paying attention to that Hannah Selner. She is going to guide you along this path. All right. For our Queen of the Candles, I'm Mark Sebastian, your only option. Here is Hannah.
Hello, everyone. Andrew will be here in just 1 second. If he's here, we can pop him into the room.
I think I'm here. There I am.
There you are.
I look good, but I didn't wear a tie.
That's
I
okay.
felt like now I should.
No, that's okay. It doesn't have to be that
but
level.
Relatively, it's pretty clean. Maine in the summertime. This is as good as it gets right now.
Is it linen?
Yeah, this jacket is, and then just an LO Bean. Now I just buy LO Bean shirts. I don't buy anything else anymore. It's only LO Bean shirts.
It's the main way.
It is. It is.
If you are new to our events here at Option Pit, first of all, welcome. Say hi in the chat. Let me know you can hear us okay. Andrew and I both have these fancy mics. Hopefully you can hear us well. I'm going to do a little intro for Andrew, and then we'll get started. There's something really interesting and different happening in the market right now with volatility. And tonight we're going to lay that out for you. Andrew's going to kind of explain the market landscape, and we're going to show you what that means for you as a trader, because it means something right now. And there's a trade that can be made that has significant upside, 10x upside, hopefully in the next few weeks. And we're going to show you that tonight. So if you've never met Andrew before, he has been a pro trader for several decades, although he looks so young and dashing per usual.
I actually counted 5 decades now, from the 80s to now. I just tipped the end of the 80s to now, which is freaking me out just a little bit, Hannah. But sorry, I tipped you out of here.
If it freaks you out, it should make everyone else feel a lot more comfortable, because Andrew has seen it all. He has been through trading COVID, trading in 2008, trading during the .com bubble. Like, he has seen so many different phases of the market. So tonight, when he looks at the market and breaks down what he's seeing right now, you should know that that comes with a history and an expertise in watching options. So 2 thumbs up for you guys that are here tonight. I am the director of new product development. Mark introed me a little earlier. I won't go crazy about this, but basically my job is to help break down the strategies that we have and explain them to our audience in a way that you can actually understand them and use them. It doesn't help you at all if you can't understand them and use them. So that's what we're going to show you here tonight. Justin, if my screen is being shared, we can pop it into the live room, or I may need to start over. Okay, good. We got it. Amazing. First things first, we always start with this disclaimer. The main takeaway for you here is what we're going to show you here tonight. These are strategies that we believe in. We actually trade with our own real money, and we use. Whatever you decide to do because of the strategies we show you here tonight, your decision. Here's an overview. First, we're going to talk about what a vol bomb
slides have
is.
to roll. The slides have to roll, Hannah. Right now, it's the slides.
Am I on a delay? Justin, do I need to do something else? Yeah. They're changing on my screen.
Oh, really? They're not? I don't see them there.
There we go. Okay. There we go. First, we're going to talk about what a vol bomb is. Second, Andrew's going to explain this volatility anomaly and what actually caused this, because this has happened a few times before, really 5 times in the last 10 years to the level that we're seeing right now. But we'll show you the past 5 examples. We're going to walk through that. There's an option trade that Andrew's going to put on tomorrow, and the goal for that trade is for him to 10x his investment. And if that sounds crazy to you, we're going to show you some past results from trades that he's made in a very, very similar situation. And then at the end, like I said, we have a free opportunity that Leisha gave us with both a stock that you should buy and then an option trade that you can make laid over that. So stick around. Andrew, let's get started with this. Normally, the market has a certain level of balance. Can you explain this a little bit so that we and everyone here tonight can understand why we're not in balance?
So clearly Hannah made this slide because it is understandable. So normally what happens is SPY drops, people freak out, and VIX pops. That's the normal thing. So SPY drops, the volatility index, jumps to 20 or more, right? Because the scales of demand for options just jump when everybody's freaking out. The second part is, now if SPY though goes to 600, goes the other way, that demand for protection and starts to go down because people have confidence. Traders have confidence. They're like, we're going up, because basically buying puts, they just evaporate. And usually VIX goes to around 12. So between those 2 levels, you have SPY down, VIX up a bunch, and then you have SPY up, confidence comes back in, everybody's feeling good, and VIX should drop to around 12. That's kind of the normal balance the market has, Hannah. Like it's kind of a happy medium, which a lot of us have made a good living in over the years, kind of trading that balance. But sometimes things get out of balance. Sometimes things get out of balance.
Right. And if you're super new to trading or super green to presentations like this, and maybe you're new to SPY and VIX, just quickly, the SPY is the ticker that stands for the S&P 500. So the top 500 companies across the market. Basically, we call it like the market temperature. And then the VIX is going to be the volatility index. So it measures, it's popularly known as the fear index, although we don't love calling it that because I think that makes people scared to trade it.
Right.
And there's actually a lot of there's a lot of opportunity in trading it. So I don't love to refer to it that way, but that's what those two things are. So normally they act sort of in this seesaw where they about balance out. But right now we got one side of the seesaw that has 5 people on it and one that has 1 people on it. There's no balance.
It's listing.
Right. How is that situation created? Walk us through this.
So what happens is a lot of VIX is just supply and demand. Basically, traders own a ton of bearish options, which means they're buying options because they think the market's going down. And these are traders, pension funds, professionals, basically folks with money that can buy thousands of options that are trading at the 5,000 strike, the 4,000 strike, way down on the list. So what happens is so many bearish options have been bought, and it presses the amount of those options up relative to where SPX is trading. So you think of it this way, that the market kind of goes up, but traders buy these options and they keep buying the same thing. They keep buying them and buying them and buying them, right? And they're doing this really because of uncertainty. Well, let's take a look at the uncertainty factor, right? You have Middle East war. That's just this week. 3 weeks ago, we had trade war 1.0, 2.0. We had interest rates potentially going, totally catastrophic.
Right.
And all through this, stocks dropped and kept rebounding.
Right.
So the thing is, those traders that are buying that protection, that think the market or the market could go down, they're buying that protection. They don't want to get rid of it, but they don't want to unload the stock they have.
Right.
And look at what happened today, Hannah. We almost hit another all-time high.
Yeah.
So if you're a fund manager, how are you creating any kind of return for your clients if you don't own stocks?
Right.
So they are not going to get rid of, or they're going to spend a little money, right? That's their alpha. They're going to spend a little money on puts because they want to own stocks that are going up, 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 and up.
Right.
And what happens that keeps VIX at a relatively high level because they don't want to sell that protection.
There's also a huge element, I think, of FOMO here, where so many times in the last couple of months, we've seen these large corrections down. In April, we got like a 10% correction. Like there are huge corrections that have happened so far this year. And I think people have watched that happen so many times. They're so scared of missing the next one that even though they still think the market long-term is going higher, they've really started to stockpile these puts, whether it's in SPY or something else, these puts betting against the market so that when that happens, if it happens again, they're not left out.
Right. Or it allows them to buy more. That's another thing. So think of it this way, like the value of your puts go up, right? The value of puts go up, the market goes down, the value of puts go up, and all of a sudden you have more money in your account. What can you do? You take your money and you go buy more stock. So it allows them a lot of flexibility, and they don't want to give that flexibility up. However, what it does is it creates a bit of a market anomaly that we're going to talk about. It messes our balance up that you had on the scale before. It messes the balance up a little bit. So we'll talk about that a little bit more.
Toss me a yes in the chat if you guys are tracking with us so far. If you have any questions about SPY, VIX, how this relationship works, don't be shy. Please ask them. We will address your questions as we go. So any that you have, throw them in the chat. Andrew, the last time that SPY was over $600, so this was on February 19th.
Yep.
The VIX was at 14. So if you look at your screen right now and you see that green X,
Yep.
it's right by February 19th. That's what I'm talking about. So this is a chart of the SPY. And in February, back on February 19th, it was at 612, so a little over 600. And the VIX was at 14. This is an example of a more balanced scale, okay? SPY's here, VIX is about here. This looks normal. Let's look at where we are right now today. So we're over at the Y right now. And again, we've seen this huge V correction. I talked about that a little bit, that huge correction in April. And
it didn't
that's
happen.
And that's
like,
what
it all just
it's crazy. It's crazy to look at these charts. And Andrew kind of giggles when we go through these, but part of that is because I do think there's some market behavior happening now, Andrew, that you've never really seen before. Is that true?
Right.
Yeah.
It's a very, I think the market reacts faster now, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think it's just news, social media, and everything is, algo based, but I think things everything happens faster. Like all of the news is disseminated. Everything is faster.
Right. And that's part of why we put this event together for you guys tonight in like 3 days, because Andrew has been watching the development of this over the last few months, this anomaly. And in the last week, it has really reached the 99th percentile, which it does not normally get there. And we're going to show you a chart of that 99th percentile and what that means for you. But it doesn't normally get to this level. So that's why we had to do this kind of urgently. So thank you guys for being here tonight, kind of on short notice. But anyway, back to this chart. February, we're over 600 on the SPY. The VIX is at 14. Today, we're over 600 on the SPY, and VIX is at 16.44.
Right.
At first glance, that may not look that different to you. But Andrew, talk a little bit about what that difference of almost 2.5 VIX points really means.
Right. So the 2.5 points, the 2.5 VIX points means that traders are willing. So if you think about it, like how much you want to pay for options. So you're willing to pay like 20%, like 2.5 points there, like 8% more, 9% more for options for the same amount of time. So normally you don't want to do that. Normally traders don't want to spend more money for options because most of the time they're the ones that are buying the options, right? How many people sell credit spreads and sell calls and sell all kinds of stuff? Normally traders are buying options. They don't want to pay up for options when the market is at a relative high, right? They want to look for lower prices. So the fact that VIX is so much higher now than it was the last time means there's still a lot of, let's just call it, there is demand for options that is not getting satisfied and not getting sold yet. As they're basically, traders are saying, I own a bunch of options and I ain't getting rid of them. I'm going to hold on to them until the last possible minute because I want to see how far SPY can go up. I know that sounds a little crazy, but that's what they're doing. They want to have the confidence to stay long, and they get that by just owning all the puts that they own. And that
WA says this is a very skeptical bull market. And I think
it is
kind of hit it right on the head. That's exactly
However, right. And we'll discuss that in a second, but like this can change. And just notice the chart that Hannah's putting up. How fast did the sentiment go from total disaster to all-time highs? Like bang. I wish I could
60 days.
Snap better. Like it happens very, very fast. Mm-hmm. And the thing with, volatility ultimately is just a sign of what dealers are holding. And when they decide that they don't need this anymore, or they decide that the trade is actually, instead of owning this protection, selling it, that's when I believe the more interesting trade, at least from my point of view, right, and for my students, are going to be which is coming up. Like that's the part that can be very, very cool.
So to summarize what we've covered so far for you guys, and again, throw me a yes in the chat. Say, Hannah, I'm with you. Let me know this is making sense. Traders own a lot more downside protection. So puts, I see someone in the chat talking about owning puts in the Qs. You're part of the vol bomb then. If you own those,
Exactly.
you are part of the vol bomb. But owning this downside because people are nervous, because we've had these big corrections, that has created an imbalance between the VIX and the SPY. When the SPY is this close to all-time highs, the VIX should not be as high as it is, but it is. And that's because everyone who owns stocks, who is long stocks, is kind of playing both sides at once.
Right.
They're saying, I have a bunch of stock that I own, probably a lot of it, Andrew, that they maybe even scooped up like at the end of last year or at the bottom of some of these.
Yeah,
and
like 2 months ago, right?
They don't want to get rid of it. They want to keep it, but they're also nervous and they don't want to see a 10% overall correction and have it hurt their positions. So they're kind of playing both sides of the hand at once. So that is why you can have a SPY that is where it's at now and also a VIX that is still high.
Right. And that's the tell. Like the tell is that VIX, that volatility number is higher than normal. So again, I have a full life. I don't really do much. I hang out in Maine and I look at a screen all day. And like for me, anything that's important is relative. When is VIX relatively higher than it should be? When are they paying more than they should be?
Right.
And that's what makes this, I believe, like much more interesting than normal. And it doesn't, and I have to say, it just doesn't normally happen this way. This is not normally like vol would be crushed and everybody be happy and, you know, we would just be going on. But there's a bit of an opportunity here brewing because things are just hanging here till the last minute. That's the cool part.
So we're going to show you guys now some examples of the last times that this has happened and what happened to volatility. Because when you have this imbalance, it can't stay like that. Something's got to give. And we have some particular events that Andrew is watching that he thinks could be catalysts for this. The vol bomb is actually going to act a little bit more like a VIX vacuum, and I'll explain that. But when you think of a bomb, if I think of a VIX bomb, I think of the VIX going much higher.
Right.
This condition is actually going to be resolved by the VIX going a lot lower. And we're going to explain that. So, Andrew, walk us through. We have a green X on this chart. This is one of the fancy Andrew charts. He's going to orient you guys a little bit, but it's important that you pay attention to the next 4 or 5 minutes so that you can really see all the evidence we have for you of this happening in the past, so that you can understand why this is extremely rare and it's also urgent. Like this doesn't last for a long time. So walk us through this chart, Andrew, and why this is important.
Right. So the first thing is an Andrew Fancy chart is just a chart with a blob on it. Okay? So what that chart is telling you is that market volatility, actually just how much the market is moving, SPY moving up and down, is pretty much trading at the bottom of the range. Okay. Now, in contrast, I want you to see what the market looked like just a couple of months ago when we thought, you know, apparently commerce was going to end, everything was going to end, and everything was going to be terrible, right? You realize all that blue line was over 50%.
Right.
Now we're down around 12%, 11.5%. So even though we've had, you know, we've had a couple of tariffs spat here or there the last month, last 20 days, we're going World War III kind of thing happening. You know, it's not moving market volatility. It's not moving how much we're actually moving. So the proof is always in the pudding with this stuff, as in, I think this stock is going to go up. But if it doesn't go up, it doesn't matter what you think, right? That's the first thing. What I'm saying is if volatility goes down, it's not that I'm guessing volatility is going down. It's already going down. The whole green X thing at the bottom is just to tell you the market's already there. We're
Right.
just waiting for the option prices to get to that point. The market is already there. We're not at the top of the realized vol, not knowing when it's going to end. We're already at lower levels, and you can see from the chart to the left, right before all that action we had in in March and April, volatility stayed relatively low for months, right? You get a couple of blips, but for the most part, it was pretty low. So again, that is a market that starts to strut some confidence in what is going on.
Carol
and the
asked,
only way you get there is you have to get to that low point first.
right, which is where we are now. So
Correct.
Carol asked in the chat, what is on the top and bottom of this graph? The top, Carol, is SPY price. So this goes back to July 2024. This is about a year. You can see SPY price. And in April, you see that big dip that we've been talking about, the correction there. The blue line that you see on the bottom, that's a volatility line. Basically, you can just think about that as the volatility of the SPY. So when you see SPY go a lot lower, like in April, you see that blue line go really high. They move kind of like opposites. Okay. You see them, they're together and then apart, and then together and then apart. That's normal behavior. What Andrew's saying, yes, realize volatility, South Bay J, thank you. What Andrew's saying is we're not only telling you here today that volatility is going to go down. We're trying to show you that it already is.
Right. And it can stay that way for a while when traders in the market in general has more confidence in what's going to happen in the future. So when events start to unfold that add confidence to the market, that creates lower volatility, not higher volatility. And that's we're starting to sit at that precipice right now.
This is the chart I'm most excited to show you guys tonight. And if you take one thing away, let it be this. And we're going to walk you through this because there's a lot of tradery words on here. Basically, this is a source from the SIBO. That's the Chicago Board Option Exchange where Mark and Leisha and Andrew all used to work. So we love them. We use a lot of their charts. We use a lot of their data. What this is showing you is basically that volume of supply and demand. So when people are betting the market's going to go up, they're buying calls. When people bet the market's going to go down, they buy puts. There's usually a ratio between the two of those, okay? Usually we lean a little more volume on the call side and a little less on the put side, but they live about in a ratio. That can get super unbalanced. And the imbalances are when you're going to see these huge spikes on this chart. And all the way on the right side, where you see the line just approaching the red dotted line in June 2025, that's us right now. So when we talk about a volatility bomb and we talk about this imbalance, we are at the beginning of either a larger spike or towards the end of a spike, and then we're going to correct. So we're going to walk you through the last 5 big spikes on here. Andrew's going to take you through
every time
this.
the blue line kind of touched the red line, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So Andrew, if you want to use the numbers here and you could explain to everyone which events kind of caused each of these, and then we're going to show you exactly what the SPY looked like at all of these moments also.
Right. And also at the same time, I want you to feel like, and if you're all in here, you're traders, you've been trading a little bit, you kind of know like when does the news match what you felt. So number one was the carry bomb in August. Remember when everything went whoop, just the market disappeared, and it was the yen carry trade, and I think we were down 10% like 3 days or something like that.
Yes.
Notice we spiked way above the line. Second, Biden dropped out of the election, and all of a sudden Harris popped in. That created a huge amount of uncertainty. So traders rushed, right? I want you to get that. They rushed for those options. They rushed for the 3-month option. Number 3 was when we had in December 18, I don't know if you remember, but we had that one day where I think the market was down 4%. VIX went to 30. Everybody's freaking out because they thought the Fed was going to change direction and start raising rates.
Do you guys remember these events?
Right.
Do you remember this in the chat? Like
and you could feel
these-
the trade, right?
These are things that feel like they pop up out of nowhere,
Right.
but really a lot of them you could have known that something like that could happen. It feels when you're trading and when you're watching the news sometimes like those things pop out of nowhere, but
Right.
it's really not like that. And we're going to show you how you can anticipate some of this, which is basically what we're doing right now.
Now, another thing I'll say is that all these are close to our market bottoms in general.
Right.
Okay. So that's why this is a little bit of a, like I say, it is out of character type of move, right?
Right.
Because which I think is leading to a bullish move higher in stocks, but that's another
Right.
thing. But again, number 4, tariff bomb, right? Trump, okay, we had Liberation Day, surprised everybody, boom. Right? Number 4. Number 5 is where we are now. Okay, we're at an all-time high. Why? Because those traders have already been buying into the rally. They're buying puts, buying protection into the rally this time, right? They're like, I don't want to get rid of what I own. I'll
Right.
sell my protection. I'll sell my bearish stuff. I'll make my money on that, but I want to be able to be long just in case that confidence gets more, like it gets more ingrained into the market, right? Driving stocks higher. And that's where we are right now. Normally, and I would say, and I'm not going to change the thesis on this because this is a pretty great tell all the time, is stocks generally do well once you hit this 99 percentile rate. That's the thing. Like all the time,
Yeah.
it does the same darn thing.
Right.
It just happens this time, stocks are going up and
Yeah.
volatility by VIX is still relatively high because we're waiting, right? We're waiting. So that's kind of where we are. That's the landscape I see right now.
2 things I want you guys to notice about this chart. Number 1 is when we get these spikes, it doesn't stay up there. Okay. I want notice that. It touches it and then it jumps back down. What we are doing with this vol bomb and with the trade Andrew's going to put on tomorrow is we're going to catch that drop down. And number 2, this red dotted line that's at 1.6. Andrew, can you explain a little bit like the significance of that particular number and why that is kind of the threshold on this chart for this percentile?
Right. And it's basically, it's how much an out of the money option, a 25 delta option, I mean, more option geeky stuff, can get relative to the at the money. So it's how much somebody is willing to pay for an option that's 25 delta is generally a straddle, but they only like to pay a certain amount relative to the at the money, and they're not going to pay anymore. And then volatility will go up and the ratio stops going up.
Okay, so the higher the skew, the more expensive, the more they're willing to pay. The lower, the less they're willing to pay.
Right. And then at some point, they're like, I'm going to stop buying these out of the money ones. Maybe I'll just buy something closer. But they're generally the market only pays so much. And then it becomes like crazy expensive.
Right.
And then they go basically buy stuff closer to the money. And then that's why the whole ratio stops.
Right. So I would say right now, the prices that people are willing to pay for puts on SPY or otherwise, it's kind of like going to buy toilet paper during COVID. Like you're willing to pay $30 because you really need to secure that. Like that's kind of where it is right now.
This is your shot.
This is your shot. So you're like, man, I know that's expensive, but I'm going to pay it anyway because I really need it. So that if you're trying to understand the hierarchy of this chart, that's a good way to think about it. Now, what we're going to show you next. So these are the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see those 5 events.
Right.
The orange one's where we're at right now. Now we're going to show you what the market was at each of these points.
Right.
So when options get really expensive, when people are paying a lot for options, let's look at what the market normally looks like. What do you notice? I'm not going to tell you. What do you guys notice in the chat? So particularly with number 1, 2, 3, 4, what do you notice? When options have gotten really expensive, when people are really tilting the market and buying a certain type of option, what's happening with the SPY? Is it going up or is it going down? Give you a sec to answer. Is it going up or is it going down?
I'm not going to answer, Hannah.
Andrew is forcing himself to keep his hand down. Is it going up or down? I see some answers. Come on, hit me with them. Stocks down, up, market bottomed, up, up. Okay. I'm going to give Human the cookie for this one.
Okay.
They coincide with a market bottom.
Yeah.
And then they're followed by tick, 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 a tick up. But what you'll notice with that orange 5, which is where we're at right now, and this is what we've been building you up towards to understand, does that 5 look like it's at a market bottom to you? Because it doesn't to me.
Yeah.
So when we talk about a volatility anomaly, that's what's particularly an anomaly. That's what's weird, is that the market is still so high and we're seeing all of this high demand for options. You guys tracking with me on this?
I am, if that helps.
Andrew, I know you are. Yes, Carol, this is the SPY. Exactly.
It's the SPY.
Yes, it goes up and down. But what I'm trying to show you is all the green boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, when the options have been really expensive, normally it's at the bottom. And right now we're at the top. That's weird. And we know it's because of this increased demand. So yeah, you can see right here, down, 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 going into the last 4. So there's a unique opportunity here to basically catch that jump down or the jump higher. We don't really care if SPY goes higher or lower. Like, we have a way to actually trade this to just catch that movement. One thing that you guys need to understand in order to do that is what the VIX zones mean. So if you're new to the VIX, if you're new to volatility, we talk about this a lot here at Option Pit because volatility affects your trading 100% of the time, whether you like it or not. So it's good if you get familiar with volatility and what it means for your trading, how it makes options cheap, how it makes options expensive. It's only going to make you a better trader. And in order to learn more about it, we're actually going to give you some more stuff right now. Andrew uses 4 zones of the VIX. So the VIX is a unique number. I said earlier that it's called the fear gauge. So it measures how much uncertainty there is in the market. Right now, the VIX is around 16, which is kind of the middle of the range. There's really 4 zones here. And at every time in the whole history of the VIX, we are in one of these ranges. Now, the VIX does not go below 8. That's just a rule of it. And it really has never been above like 100. Okay.
Right.
So the VIX stays in this range. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. And if you join Andrew and trade with him live, he teaches you a lot more about that. But what's important about these zones is it tells us something about the way that we trade. So Andrew, will you just walk through these 4 zones? And then we're going to give you guys some information on when we're in one of these zones, how much the market should be moving. And obviously, if it's not moving that much, kind of like we're seeing right now, there's usually a trade opportunity. So if you have a piece of paper, this is your moment. I would write these down. Yeah,
this is a good thing. So 18 is kind of the middle. VIX spends half the time above 18 and half the time below 18. So again, it's a reverting product, which means it doesn't keep going up forever. It doesn't compound. It can't do what Apple did. Okay. It can't go from 1 to 25,000. It's very range bound. So it spends about 25% of its time in each zone. Mm-hmm. And normally a characteristic of once it breaks into a zone, it tends to go down to the bottom of the zone. Okay. Normally. So right now we just were at 18. I think Monday we're like 19. Mm-hmm. We're trading 16 now. So the bottom of zone 2 would be about 13. Again, and this is a sentiment. When you look at a zone, you want to think of like a market temperature of feeling, right? Mm-hmm. The pulse. Zone 2 is a pulse that the market's moving around a little bit, but not a lot, which is kind of what we've got going on right now. Zone 1, it's your heart. The heart's barely beating. The market's moving, just not very much. So there's a characteristic with each zone. Zone 3, things are woo. And zone 4 was, the tariffs and all the total madness. and
Right.
volatility traded, you have those big prints really high up there. And then all of a sudden, boom, we came down to 24 and then dropped into the zone 3. So the idea is we're spending only a period of time in each zone historically over the last 20 years, going back to the OEX in the 80s.
Yep.
So this is basically how it sort of breaks down for how much time we spend in each zone.
We're going to show you guys that in just 1 minute, actually, over the last year, how much time we spent in each zone.
Right.
One thing, and we're going to tie this back in. We're going to tie this back in to the opportunity with the vol bomb. You have to understand this first and kind of how the zones work. Because we're going to talk about the zone we're in right now. And after the vol bomb goes off, the zone will be in next. And that movement is what we want to capture with the trade.
Right.
In each of the zones, there's actually an expected amount that the SPY will move. Right. So Andrew, walk us through this. And if you take, I already said this, but if you take a second thing away from here tonight, it should be this. Whichever VIX zone we're in, and when we switch in between them, it'll tell you how much the market can move. Right. So in zone 4, anytime the VIX is above 24, that is pricing in basically a 10-point swing in the SPY every single day.
At least.
Right. So if volatility is high, uncertainty is high, we're looking for big swings. So we're going to see at least 10 points. If the VIX is between 18 to 24, that's usually 7.5 points per day. Right. That's every day. So that would be today, 7.5 points.
Tomorrow, every day for 30 days.
Right. Every day for 30 days. Zone 2, which is where we just dipped into earlier this week. So if we're at 16.44, we're in zone 2. The SPY will move on average 4.5 points per day.
And we move 5 points a day. 5 points a day.
Oh, 5 points a day.
I know, but we move 5 today. So, it's like.
There you go. We move 5 today.
Exactly.
So that is the expected movement. And then zone 1 is obviously going to be lower.
Now, again, 3 points a day is nothing. It's like literally it's summertime.
Right.
Again, summertime, which we are rapidly approaching, right?
And Andrew, one thing I want to point out for you guys that are here tonight, you can trade every part of this. You might look at this and think like, oh, I'd rather trade in zone 4 because there's huge swings. Well, there's things you might not want to trade in zone 4. Right. Or you might say, oh, in zone 1, I probably can't make money. That's not a lot of movement. That's not true. There are trades you can make in each type of environment.
Correct.
But understanding which VIX zone we're in and how much the market can move is really important to making smarter trades.
Right. You don't want to fight it. You don't want to fight the fact that you're going to move 10 points a day. You don't want to fight the fact that you're going to move 3 points a day.
Right.
You don't. Why do that? Why do something that has a huge statistical advantage? Like you don't want to do that. It's like, it's like trying to push a rock up a hill. You just don't want to do it.
You're going to be sweaty and it's going to take a long time and you're not going to make any money doing it. So let's not. In 2024, here's the amount of time we spent in each zone. So you can get kind of an eyeball of this. Now, so far this year in 2025, we have spent almost less than 10 days in zone 1. So we spent a lot of time in zone 2 and zone 3. Because like we just said right now, yeah, the market is high, but volatility in the VIX has also been held higher. So we're spending a lot of time in zone 2 and zone 3 so far this year.
Right.
Andrew, let's talk about this 10x opportunity. So we've kind of set the stage with the market and what's happening. Walk us through, tie this back. So we already we just went over the VIX. What does the VIX matter for this 10x opportunity?
So the thing that matters is the way VIX is priced. Puts in VIX are very inexpensive. We're talking 25, 30, 35 cents. Now, if we move all the way through zone 2, a put that we might pay for 20, 25 cents, like those things could be worth 10x in the next week to 2 weeks. So the reason why is there are several calendar events that could change the way the market is pricing this. So again, the Senate could pass their budget, which would be another part that we're waiting for, another basically piece of news, right? 4th of July holiday is historically low for volatility. Again, because we lose a day, it pushes the vol down. Also, the July 9th tariff deadline, Trump has had a habit now of taking these deadlines and moving them farther along the line. All of these things would basically take us from the top of zone 2 to the bottom of zone 2 and possibly into 1, which, by the way, remember, historically, we're in zone 1 25% of the time. We haven't sniffed it yet.
Right.
So the payday is looking for the right option to buy to take advantage of the move through the zone. That's the simple answer right there. And that's why we have it. Just the fact that there's such the fact that VIX is so high relative to where the SPY is presenting that opportunity now.
Right. So from where we are right now, the VIX can drop 5 points. And we're going to show you guys right now how we know that. So this is a current picture of the volatility curve. And basically what this tells you is what the market pricing believes the VIX is going to be priced at in X amount of days. So that first dot you see that says 18.86, that's what, 2 weeks from now, it looks like almost? Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah,
or maybe the end of this month?
18th.
Yeah. Okay, so like the end of this month. So right now, the VIX is at 16.44. See that green dotted line? And the way that all these options are priced right now, it's saying, okay, it's going to go up, 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 up. Now, we don't think that. We think it's going to flip and go down for some of the reasons we've laid out for you guys here tonight.
Right.
Why that's important is because when this vol drop happens, so if we're up here at 18.86, or that's where it predicts, when that drops all the way to 12, which I put on this chart here, it's even below what's on the chart, but that's where we know this is going to go. When it makes that move, that's how we get paid. That's how you see a 25-cent option go to $2.50. And we know this because it's happened before.
Yes.
Let's look at the last time this happened. This was around the presidential election back in November. So when the election actually happened, not the inauguration. And what you can see here is how the curve changed over a 4-day period. And actually, this next chart's even better. Let's do this one. You can see how it changed over a 5-day period. So November 1st, it was saying, okay, the vol's going to be over 20. November 4th, it dropped. November 5th, it dropped. November 6th, it dropped. Over 11, 12 days, we went from over 20 to under 15.
Smoked.
So these moves can happen very, very quickly. And it's because of some of the factors we outlined tonight. The sentiment can change. Something can happen in the news to make people have less fear or less uncertainty. And Andrew already pointed out there's 3 events that are coming up very soon that we think could do just this. We think could make just this happen. Now, when this happened, Andrew, you actually traded this.
We did.
You had a few trades on that you cashed in sort of in a wave. But if you're guys sitting there and you're saying there's no way a 10x is going to happen, well, I want to show you this because it did. Andrew had a trade on that lasted 6 days from November 1st through November 6th, where his VIX puts went from $1.50 to $3.20. So that's 111%, which is a great trade. But I want you to notice the trade below that. He had that trade on from November 3rd through November 14th. So he literally caught that whole drop, tick, 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 all the way down. And that was a 10-cent option that went to 90 cents. That's an 800% return. This is a trade that he actually made. And if you guys trade with him in Rip Zone, you also may have made this trade. And that looks crazy, but it's not crazy when this anomaly happens, but it doesn't happen very often.
Right. I mean, that was the last time was 8 months ago or 9 months ago or whatever. So,
right.
But it's setting up now again. And that's like at the time, nobody wanted to sell any vol. Nobody wanted to buy any puts. Nobody wanted to do anything. And I want you to like, and a lot of times trading is a feeling. That feeling then, the pricing was very similar, right, to what you have now. Nobody wants to do anything. They don't believe it's going to happen. And that's really when the opportunity pops in. When but the pricing anomaly is like nearly identical right now. That's the cool part. Like the pricing where it's not like something we have to make up. Like literally you can see exactly how the market had priced it before and how it's pricing it now. The events that might underpin it are slightly different, but the outcome should be relatively right. The outcome should be the same thing. So if they do crash VIX again, we should see the exact same result, which is what makes this exciting, obviously.
I love seeing
about it in Rip Zone today.
I love seeing some of the questions in the chat because I know you guys are understanding this. Cap said, so the market is moving from uncertainty to less uncertainty. That's exactly right.
Correct.
So when we see this number drop, like this 12-day period after the election where it went from a lot of uncertainty, we don't know who's going to win, we don't know what it's going to mean for the market, to, okay, we have an answer and the market liked that answer. That is how quickly you can see a huge drop like that.
Yeah,
so
and by the way, 5 days later, it's over. Like 6 days later, it's not it's not hanging around forever. Like Hannah's saying, like, okay, here's the 1st, here's the 13th. And now it's gone. You close your trade and you move on to the next thing. And then we move on to, basically it's a good thing about Rip Zones in general, but there's a new zone, right? You're now at a new place.
There's a question in the chat, Andrew, I want to direct to you because it's so important that we answer this now. And Dano, thank you for asking this. This is a great question. They say, isn't it too late? VIX has already made a big move down in the last week.
No.
No.
That's the crazy part.
The short answer is no, but but very soon it will be too late.
So besides being too geeky, right? Remember when Hannah showed you the picture where the VIX futures were trading closer to 19? So the price you get, remember, the higher the price of something is, the cheaper the puts are going to be. So VIX futures right now are very expensive, which makes all the puts very cheap, right? Do you see that slide Hannah has? You're not buying a put where you have to pay where the underlying price is lower. You're buying a put where the underlying price is higher. I know that might sound a little confusing, but it makes all the puts very inexpensive. So it creates more of an opportunity because the prices of them right now are so relatively low. The risk reward and the opportunity is the crazy part here. Relative to the type of move that you can see, like we could have that move from like a 16 to a 12, but the future is going to move from almost 19 to 12.
Right.
That's where and that's what you're paying me for, obviously.
Does that make sense, Dano? So you might be looking right now at like, okay, the VIX is at 16.44. That doesn't seem like a lot of room to drop. We're actually not going from the 16.44 down. We're going from this almost 19 down.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like there's actually further to fall than you think.
Correct.
So when Andrew looks at this and does the math and looks at the current option prices, there is still a 10x opportunity, and he's traded just like this before.
Right.
So, but it is true that this is not necessarily going to be there for a super long time. Like you can see here, when this happened back in November, this was a 12-day swing from up here to down here. And you have to put the trade on when you're up here. So Andrew, you're planning to put this trade on tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Right.
We already prepared. We prepared for it in Rip Zone today. But yes, we didn't put it on today, but we got ready. So we're waiting for tomorrow.
For those of you guys that are here and are interested in this trade, Andrew is only going to do this in his Rip Zone service. And we're going to walk you guys through what he actually does in that service because he trades these type of moves all the time. It may not look exactly like a vol bomb, but basically every week, Andrew, there's an opportunity to change the way that this volatility moves. And that's what he does inside of Rip Zone. Now, we're going to walk you guys through the things that you would get joining this. And the first and foremost, you would get the 10X trade tomorrow. And it has to be tomorrow. Andrew is putting it on tomorrow. I think they've already put on a couple of these because he kind of likes to stack the trades.
Right.
But this trade is going on tomorrow because the timing is so important. The events that we're looking at that could cause the vol to go from here to here are, we outlined these earlier. It's going to be if the Senate actually passes the budget bill. That could be one of them. Around July 4th, a lot of times there's volatility just goes down around holidays because volume can go down. That happens. So that could be the catalyst. Or it could be that tariff deadline in July. Like Andrew said, Trump has had a track record of pushing those dates back. So if he pushed it back, the uncertainty around it would go down. We don't know which of those events it's going to be, but we know that right now, the VIX number right here is too high and it's going to come down. Right. And when it does, we want to be in a trade that can profit from that.
Right.
So Andrew, you trade this on a regular basis as a part of Rip Zone, and you really make these trades once a week. So whether it's this trade that you're making this week or a different one, you are always trading these volatility differences, basically.
Right.
And when he does
VIX
these
moves.
These VIX moves. When Andrew does these, this functions as a trade alert service. So he actually sends you, okay, buy this option chain, sell it here. Here's the target. Right. He also does daily live sessions with you guys. So tomorrow, when he puts on this 10X opportunity, he's going to do it with you live at 11 a.m.
Right.
It'll be live at 11 a.m. tomorrow. If you have something at 11 tomorrow, there's always a replay. So you could watch that and actually get everything that you would need from that video to put this trade on. But this is an ongoing service. So you're not just going to get the 10X opportunity. This would be a year of these opportunities with Andrew. He also sends out daily morning briefs. These are extremely helpful. He's going to tell you which zone we're in. He's going to tell you what that means for your trading today. And if he sees an opportunity to make money. There's also a great vol product trading guide that walks through the VIX, what the heck it is, how you should be using it. And I want you guys to know that, and Leisha talked about this earlier, Andrew used to train pro traders. So he knows what it means to teach someone who doesn't know that much about options and about trading to get them to a level where they can proactively recognize these opportunities and trade them. He did that for years, and he's very good at it, if I do say so myself. Andrew also takes a lot of notes during class. You would get full access to those. There are 3 intensive trading courses that are associated with Rip Zone. Rip Zone is the name of the paid strategy. He has a vol masterclass with over 12 hours of everything you'd ever need to know about trading volatility. VIX Made Easy, which is a 7-hour course, and the VXX Made Easy, which is another way that we can trade volatility. There's also a VIX Zones masterclass that you'll get when you join Rip Zone, and it walks through, okay, if I'm in zone 4, what does that mean for my trading? And he'll give you a lot of examples for how you can use that information to make smarter trades. Mark also participates in Rip Zone once a week. This is live every single day with Andrew, but Mark is there once a week, and he shows you how to use some of the same strategies about volatility on equities. So just like we showed you that SPY has its own volatility on that one chart that Carol was asking about, every stock has that, and there's ways that you can trade that volatility. So we're going to do something special for you guys tonight. And then don't forget, I have Leisha's free trade, so please stick around for that. We have the free trade. Andrew, you look like you're under an interrogation with that horrible light right on your face.
Well, the sun literally is setting right.
You're glistening. My gosh.
The sun literally, because I face west, although I live in Maine, it's hard to believe, but I do face west. And the sun is literally coming through.
I was looking at the slides. I wasn't looking at you, and I just looked back and I thought, where is he?
I'm trying to hide from the sun. Hold on.
We do have something special for you guys tonight. Normally, the retail price for Rip Zone for a year of this trade strategy is $4,999. The sale price is $1,999. That's what we normally sell Rip Zone at when we host these events. But we are going to give you guys tonight 20% off that sale price. So it's actually $1,599 for 1 year of Rip Zone if you join us tonight. And of course, that includes tomorrow's 10x trade opportunity, but then 51 more weeks of trade opportunities. So there's going to be, we just posted, there's a button that's going to be above my head. There's going to be an order form that will be posted in the chat. This discount code for 20% off, we already applied it. So you don't have to do anything fancy. When you click on the order form and you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see that that has already been applied. So it's $1,599. Andrew, you built this Rip Zone strategy to kind of mirror the types of trades and the environment that you have had on the option trading floor. Can you talk a little bit about how this might be different from some of our other strategies?
I guess the easiest way to think about it is we're focusing on just trading VIX and the volatility products. We're just focusing on the zones and moving up and down. So it's basically trying to teach my students, the roomies, when we're at the bottom of one zone, how fast are we going to the top of the other one? What is the opportunity? What is the opportunity at any time in any zone we are at, and how the market is pricing that? So the big difference is it's mostly just what's the opportunity for the zone we're in? Is it good enough for a trade or not? It's good enough for a trade. We have a trade. If it's not good enough for a trade, we wait for the next day and see what the market brings us.
You guys can also go to optionpit.com/join-ripzone. That'll take you to the order form if you're on your phone or if something's being confusing. You guys can also give us a phone call. We have, sorry, this is not on the right slide. Here we go. We have a great team. If you have any questions, if you're wondering if you have any credits that you could apply towards this, please give them a phone call. They are awesome, and they'll help you get you everything you need to get started. I do have a question in the chat I want to throw to you, Andrew. Someone said, if I have something tomorrow and I can't be around right at 11 a.m., is this a trade that they'll be able to put on at later in the day tomorrow?
Well, the alerts come out. So the alerts come out right after we do the trade.
Right.
So you can put the trade on as long as you sign up for the alerts and the notifications. And then the recordings are posted. So even if you're not there, you still can do it. The trades themselves, we try to spend about $250 to $300 per trade. That's basically
this trade tomorrow too, Andrew. The 10x is going to be a directional trade. This is just going to be
a directional trade. It's going to be relatively inexpensive, and you just decide on how many you want to do. Tomorrow will just be kind of a vanilla trade, buying a call or a put.
It's not vanilla if it's making 10x. Let's just be clear about that, please.
Well, it'll be a very nice vanilla ice cream sundae. If it
right, right, with the nuts and the caramel and the cherry on top. It's got the whole thing going on.
Yeah.
Andrew, how often would you say in this strategy, what's the pace of the trades? How often do they come out? Because this is a big opportunity tomorrow.
Usually Mark will put out his trade once a week, his vol trade. I'll put out usually just one trade a week. It usually, again, the premium is on closing the trade when volatility basically moves out of a zone. So usually I'm going to say 5 to 9 days is probably the window when you want to close one. So that's kind of the pace. It's not a day trading service, although, volatility can do weird things like in pop. And you want to close, but that's kind of the pace of the trade. It's more like, I would say 5 to 7 days to exit.
Carol, if you have some track record questions, give us a phone call. They can actually walk you through it and show it to you. I don't have it pulled up right now, But they can walk you through the track record and some of the recent trades with Ripzone. I would say that on a lot of these trades, it's not like Andrew's targeting 10x on every trade, but he's usually looking for at least 50% moves, if not 100%. That's about normal targets for these trades.
Right.
And it's all options. You don't really do any stocks in there. It is trading options. There's going to be some directional ones, and there's going to be some trades that are a little more complicated. One thing that I always tell new members, you don't have to make any trades but the directional ones if you don't want to. It's not like one opportunity is better or worse than the other. If you only feel comfortable at a certain level and you want to come in and take this 10x trade and you want to spend the next month or 2 months going through the courses, learning live with Andrew every day, you can ask him questions. You can get to a point where you feel more comfortable with the other level trades. So don't feel like you have to be at the level where you can come in and do everything perfectly the first time. First of all, no one is like that. Maybe Andrew, but no one is like that. So don't put that pressure on yourself. And the other thing that is important to revisit is that this does not happen very often. So we tried to cut this price a bit for you guys so that you can actually get into this before tomorrow. Because this 10x trade, we saw how fast that 800% moved the last time. It was like 12 days. So it's very important that you have the trade on so that you can actually make that type of return from it. Other questions that you guys have, pop them in the chat. We'll take a couple more, and then I'm going to show you guys the bonus trade from Leisha, which is just a freebie for being here tonight. We know that your guys' time is valuable, and we love when you come here with us. So we'll show you that in just a second. I don't know why my screen is changing right here, Justin. Yeah, okay, there we go. If you have more questions, pop them in the chat.
To set a little bit. Now my halo is becoming less grand.
You're glowing but not blinded. It's perfect. Right. Steve says, Andrew is an excellent teacher and worth your time. Thank you, Steve. If you guys are here and you're members of Ripzone, please feel free to share your experience, what it's like having access to Andrew, what the trades are like. A lot of people seem uncomfortable with trading volatility before they actually join this service or before they learn more with us at Option Pit. Volatility trades can be some of the most predictable trades in the entire market. Wouldn't you say, Andrew?
The short answer is yes, because everything trades in a zone. They're here, then they're there. You have kind of a tunnel to operate in. That's what makes it great.
Right. Tim01, VIX Zone Masterclass. When does that start? Great question, Tim. We have all of the courses recorded for you, and they're in a learning system. So basically you can go through, track your progress. You'll always have access to the classes. So you can rewind, review, mark one as your favorite. You can revisit. Forrest asks, is a monthly subscription available? Forrest, if you give us a phone call, they might be able to work with you on the phone. Sometimes we do payment plans or things like that if you want to get into the membership. So I'd give us a phone call. Jack asked, are these trades possible with smaller accounts? Andrew, can you talk about that a little bit? What do you think is the lowest level account?
The trade size is like $250 basically for most of these trade sizes. So I would say that's like a $5,000 account for that size trade. That would be the easiest thing.
Sheena says, joining Ripzone has been very helpful in understanding how to be a better trader overall. I'm so glad, Sheena. Thank you for being here. One of the things you'll notice, and we talked about this earlier, understanding volatility is going to make you a better trader across the board. And that's really what Ripzone is all about. Okay, guys, I am going to show you this trade opportunity from Leisha. This is a freebie we're going to give away to you. Before I do that, make sure you click on the order form. There's a black button above Andrew and my head. It should be wiggling. You can click on that. Make sure that you have that up and open. This 20% off is only going to last until tomorrow. So this is going to go back to $19.99. So it's only $15.99 right now. We took an additional chunk off there so you guys can get in before this 10x trade tomorrow. And Andrew, would you say the goal of the 10x trade is kind of to pay for the service?
Yes.
I mean, if
Yeah.
you put $150 into the 10x trade tomorrow, it should pay for the service.
That's the idea.
goal.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Right. So
Yes.
if you guys are unsure about this and you're like, I don't know what I should do, we also have a 14-day money back guarantee on this offer. We have that on every single product that we ever offer here at Option Pit. There's a 14-day money back guarantee. And we do that because we know how it is. $15.99 can be a bunch of money for you to spend. So if you spend it, we want you to be able to see what you're going to get, the type of value that you're actually paying for. And if you don't like it, if it's not enough for you, we understand how it is. We'll give you a refund. But I know you're going to like it.
I can't guarantee you're going to get a suit jacket every day, though.
Yeah. He's more of a flannel man. You're seeing his A++. All right. I'm going to show you guys this pitchfork. So if you're new to pitchforks, I won't go into full spiel right now. But basically, this is a technical trading tool that Leisha uses. And a lot of us here love pitchforks. If you're a pitchfork fan, let me hear it. The pitchfork is important because what it can do is show you when we're at a bottom of a range and when a stock has a lot of room to move higher. So Salesforce is this actual pick from Leisha. Now, here's a note from her. She says CRM is honoring the pitchfork support. So you see it right there at the bottom of that blue channel. And it's gearing up for the next leg higher. She says there's some resistance at 281, but it's a clear trade back to its most recent high to 296. So I think at the end of today, CRM closed around 270. She's saying that her next target for this, it could go all the way to 296. So here's an option trade. Totally free for you guys, just for coming here tonight. Oh, what the heck? Justin, we're going to have to look at my screen. It's doing weird things where it's not tracking. Here's the pitchfork. Sorry.
There you go.
Here's a pitchfork. Thanks for telling me in the chat. Yep. Here is Leisha's kind of write-up of it. So you can see like it's had a little bit of a haircut here, probably matching the haircut the market took in April. Then it's climbed back out, then it's back down a little bit. But because it's right here at the bottom of the pitchfork, there's a lot of room to run higher. So there's two positions right now, both a stock one and an option one that Leisha really likes. If you were to buy the stock on CRM tomorrow morning, I think it closed around 270 today. So her two targets, if you bought at 270 to sell, would be 280 as the first target, and then 293 is the second one. So you could catch a nice $20 stock move there. She also has an options play here. So if you wanted to actually play the options and buy some calls on this going higher, her particular option that she would buy is the CRM July 18, 270 calls around 6 or 650, depending on the pricing tomorrow morning. So I'll take a screenshot of this and I'll put it in the chat for you guys so that you have this, or grab a picture of it now. But this is for you guys just as a nice freebie for showing up tonight, which we super appreciate.
Thank you very much.
What other questions do you guys have? Will I upload this to the chat so that you can have access to this? Any other last minute questions for Andrew about tomorrow, about Rip Zone? Feel free to pop them in here. There's the free trade for you guys. It should show up in the chat in just a second.
Well, I'm excited for tomorrow, Hannah. We'll see what we get.
I am very excited for tomorrow.
The time commitment for this service, it's about 35 minutes a day, and actual executing the trades probably should only be about 10 minutes a week. Friday fun day. That's what I'm looking for.
That's the plan. TGIF. Thank you guys so much for coming here tonight. We'll wrap this up. Andrew's got to get his beauty rest before tomorrow. I really encourage you to call our team. If you have questions, please call us. I'm going to pop the phone number in the chat one more time. 888-872-3301. Please give us a phone call. They might be able to work with you over the phone, do a payment plan, something like that. And we'll have a replay of this afterwards in the chat. But you guys, tomorrow's going to be a big opportunity. So get in before that. Andrew, thank you so much for being here tonight. I totally appreciate it. And hopefully everyone that's here, you learned something tonight.
Hopefully, yes. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. And all of you, I'll see you tomorrow, 11 o'clock.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.